All right, Canadian wine lovers, Girls Wine Club members, Shay Code.
Carl,
How's it going?
It's going well, brother. Good to see you.
That's going well. Okay, this is a pretty cool setup here. We are in on Peachcliff in Okanagan Falls, the mecca of Pinot Noir in the Okanagan.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about my favorite spot for one of my favorite
You're
spots
too
for
kind.
Pinot Noir.
You're too kind.
One of my very favorite producer. We're talking clonal selection of Pinot Noir, an approach that very little amount of winemaker or winery owner have taken in the past. Can you explain us a little bit about the thought process, but what's a clonal selection?
Right. Geez, this is a big topic.
I know,
I'll try and keep it brief.
Hey, no stress.
Yeah,
you have
no
lots
stress.
of time.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start with the whole idea of clones? Because a lot of people that show up to our tasting room are like, "Tell me about what's going on with this clone stuff." We're not, exactly sure what's going on. And so the way that I explain this in kind of basic terms is this goes back hundreds of years, back to Europe. And natural mutations in the vineyards, the farmers started to notice that certain plants were changing in the vineyard over time, and this is over decades. And when they went to repropagate plants or replant, they would take selections from the mutated plants if they were disease resistant or they had better characteristics than the mother plants that were originally put in. And that was the forerunners to clones. So those farmers started to take those selections over time, and they would propagate those in their own vineyards and with their neighbors. But then as you move along in time, the Germans started it, and then the French started to actually register these mutated plants as clones. And then you fast forward into the early 1970s, and it really gained a lot of momentum in Burgundy, of course.
And first and foremost, they were used to bring complexity into a blend, right? So you don't have all of the same characteristic into the same, so having different clothes will bring different layers and different aspects.
Yeah.
So you've decided to take it to the next level and doing single production of each and every clone separately.
That's right, yeah.
So that's where we are. We're here. Dijon 115, Dijon 777, Pomar 91, and Ancestor 01, right?
That's right, yeah.
All very different.
Yes.
And it shows in the cuvee also, because the cuvee has a very layered delivery, and when you go to the clonal selection, there's a bit more pinpoint precision,
right,
more focus driven.
That's right, yeah, with these very, very distinct signatures on each of the clones that show up. And that was part of the reason why, and I know you've asked me this before, is I was very curious on whether this was marketing wine industry bunk or not. And so that was really after we had bought the site, we decided that we wanted to do this clone experiment, really, to
so
determine.
that comes in that order. You bought the site first. The site was purchased first.
Yeah.
After that, the idea of doing the clonal, because you thought that you have the material, you have the site to go about it.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
And our neighbors had said, we talked to Jack from Meyer, Ian from Liquidity, and others around, what should we be planting in the site? And they had said, crazy if you don't do at least Pinot and Chard, which of course we planted, and then a bit of Syrah. But then that led to, well, if we're going to plant Pinot, then the question is, well, which clones? And so then I'm like, okay, well, is this a bunch of marketing stuff, or is there something real here? And so we planted the 4 clones, and then decided to do this clone collection idea, where we farm exactly the same. The terroir is identical. Winemaking is the same. So we're trying to keep all the barrels are the same. All the variables we're trying to keep consistent, and then just let the clone fruit showcase what these signatures are supposed to be.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. I love it. And what did you learn about the site? Because your site is very unique. I mean, come on. This is the tip here, the tip of Squaw
That's
right there down the
yeah.
bottom here. You're on Peachcliff, so you're right on the hill of that big, massive, I don't know if it's granite or whatever the rock is, in Okanagan Falls, near the McIntyre Bluff. So it's a very, very unique spot. So when you were looking for your spot, what were you looking for to?
Well, Class 1 grape land was the number one requirement. So that's what we were looking for. And it just so happened that this site, because we got a total of 13 acres, but about half of it was class 1 grape land. And the other half is very steep and not easy to farm. You could, but not easy to farm. So most of our neighbors looked at this site and took a pass on it because they weren't as crazy as we were. But yeah, we wanted class 1 grape land. And
just to explain to people here, what do you mean by grade 1? It's about the grade, right? It's about the inclination. It's about how steep the slope is.
Plays into it. But in 1984, the Canadian government mapped the entire Similkameen and Okanagan Valley to determine whether or not vinifera could be planted here or was suitable. And so I don't know if you've read through this book from 1984, but it's like...
Do I look like someone who read about that?
Well, maybe.
Okay.
You know, you surprised me a lot, buddy. But they classify from class 1 through class 5 on every acre in each of the valleys. And so you can go through there and you can look at all these maps.
They were mapping,
basically. And so you can pinpoint what's class 1 and right through to class 5.
Oh, wow. Class 1 here.
Yeah, so this upper bench here is class 1, but the lower part is class 5 because of the steep hillside.
Okay.
But it's just what you were saying though. It's like soil, it's aspect, elevation, like all these things. Like I don't know, there's 10 or 12 different key metrics.
Yeah.
The higher the score on those 10 or 12 key metrics, the higher the grade of the soil or the site.
Hey, before Mira's taking us to the vineyard, because I know we want to go have a quick little walk here in the vineyard, let's jump to the Rockstar, to the Rockstar clone. Because it's been a few years now that I'm tasting through every single clone separately and doing like the tasting notes and scores on everything. And I came up with an understanding that the Dijon 777 is really at home here. This clone. I'm not saying that the other one, because I like them all. They're very like we was talking about. They're so very different.
That's right.
But in terms of score and in terms of the delivery of softness and precision and complexity, the Dijon 777 stands out year in and year out. Tell me a little bit more about Dijon. I mean, the Dijon 777. Is it something that you had in mind, or it's people around you said you might need that in that site, or I suggest that? How's that happen to end up in your backyard?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, we clipped our clone plant material from the Meyer site, and so they had 777. It was on our list of clones that we wanted. They had it, and it's the smallest amount that we planted. Because the various people that I spoke to were a little bit indifferent, which now I've learned. I wish I had it planted more, of course. But this is how this stuff goes, right? But yeah, so people do have that planted. It's not as widely planted in the valley as 115 would be. 115 is a lot more dominant.
Absolutely.
But I think, and no one told me this, what I've learned is 777 lives up to the heartbreak grape moniker of Pinot Noir for me. So it produces unbelievable fruit, but it is a real bugger to farm. It's difficult around fruit set, and it's more fussy.
You're so eloquent when you're talking. I feel like you should have used a different word than than
well,
bugger,
I do.
And bugger, but anyway,
yeah.
Off the camera, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
In terms of a flavor profile, what were you expecting? Was it something that was expected from you for the Clone 777, or you have no idea what you like?
Well, again, I don't know if you've gone through I call it the clone register, but you can download the NTAV write-up on profile of every clone, and there's 900 of them. I didn't read through all 900 of them, but the 777, it's known to make a bigger, sturdier, bolder Pinot. A
little bit like the Côte de Nuit. If you go to Burgundy, you get to the Côte de Nuit.
Yes, and you've mentioned this a few times.
Yeah,
right?
that's exactly when I've tasted it. That's what, a little bit more robust.
Yes.
A little bit more darker. But this has structure. The structure of that wine absolutely stand out to me.
Yeah. So that's the profile. So when you look that up, that's what it's known for. And in fact, the write-up and description of each of the clones is pretty accurate. Like that's what we're finding.
Yeah.
115 is more kind of classic Burgundian,
Elegance.
floral elegance. Pommard,
more modern.
Yep, and fruit forward. And the history of that clone is it was registered by the UC Davis program out of California.
Yeah.
And I think they selected it based on the way they like to make wines
Absolutely.
in California.
Yeah.
And so
Fruit
it's
forward, easy
yeah.
drinking.
So plant material from Pommard, but selected because of the California style, right? And
That
so
makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
yeah. And then Ancestor, we don't know the exact heritage of that particular clone, but Chris Carson from Meyer, he believes it's a German clone. And again, based on what you read of Spätburgunder, the profile kind of fits.
It definitely takes old world.
It does.
Like, it does. It mountain, like
Yeah.
something like more rugged,
Yeah.
something like, and it's crazy because we treated each other the other day. Like we tasted it with that thing like 3 years old or 4 year old.
That's right.
That darn thing is aging absolutely wonderfully,
crazy, right?
And it's absolutely wonderful. So, there's such a great aging potential. Okay, you know what? I think how about we keep going our conversation in the vineyard because I would like to have a little walk. Let's go see the 7-7 plant out there.
Totally, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. We'll be right back.
That's a given. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Because like having Keith come was it's one, and this I don't know if this is where you want to do it. You may want.
Well, we're in the vineyard where all magic happened, and I don't want to be that guy, but I mean, and over dramatic. But something pretty crazy happened to you in Harley 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the healthiest block of your vineyard, which is a very rare clone of Syrah, unfortunately burned down.
That's right. Yeah.
And can you take, like this is here, well we can see here stuff, what happened?
Just to the northwest corner of us, of our property, our neighbor, I think was cutting metal and started a fire. It was just one of those perfect conditions. Wind was blowing, hot day, dry grass, and the fire swept into our property. Burnt that northwest corner out, which is about 3 acres. And this is 3 o'clock, 3:15 on 10 days ago on a Saturday. And I was doing a tasting. Harley just ran into the winery building and said, I think we've got a problem. And so I came out and clearly smoke was billowing. You know how this goes in the Okanagan, things go really fast.
They happen really, really fast, right?
So anyway, I ran down here in sandals and realized immediately that, we've got a major problem. Ran back, put boots and grabbed shovels and came down. And it had already consumed, a lot of the trees, and it was moving. It had already moved into this block of Syrah that you referenced. So, this stuff happens just so fast. And, anyway, I threw sprinklers on the one block of Syrah to try and save that. And then the fire split and went into the block that burned of Syrah. And then where the sprinklers were, it went around and wrapped around down this gully. And you can see my neighbor's property started on fire here.
Yeah. Oh my God, it came really close.
Oh, it started their sheds on. It was in their backyards here on the 3 houses. And if you can believe it, positive thing out of a pretty scary thing is the tasting I was doing was a doctor and his wife from Kelowna, Dr. Matt Ward, and this guy was a wildland firefighter, crew chief from years ago. And this guy, he jumped in, he was in his Birkenstocks, out tasting wine on a Saturday afternoon with his wife, and he fought this fire for 5 hours. And,
are you kidding me? Wow.
He's working with the firemen, but he heroic sort of stuff to save my neighbor's property. So anyway, unbelievable show of human spirit, and shitty that we had a fire, and the impact that it had on us, but amazing that we had Dr. Ward here with us.
Well,
the odds are really super low, but
wow,
amazing.
Incredible. should we keep going our little walk down there? Mira, do you have any question?
Well, yeah, I'm just so sorry that happened. That's devastating. Yeah.
Thanks. Oven, and then this is the block that burns. So I don't know if you want to.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do-
Yeah, tell us more.
Yeah. So I like it, the princess block.
I don't know if that's politically correct, but it's.
So clone 777, the rock star. So from here,
Four rows only. So
Four rows,
I was referencing. I wish I had more in some ways, but it's right here. So that I think that's 30, and then these four. So that one, and then these next three are the 777.
and how are they fair? Because I think we know about the frost and we know about the
deep
damage,
freeze.
the deep freeze that we experienced.
Yeah.
So how's these guys, or is it something
It's
that you?
mixed. You know, if you take a look at this, like this, if they were all like this, I would be pretty pleased because we've got some good suckers coming. Obviously the canes and the cordons are dead. But this probably by the end of the season will offer us an opportunity to retrain that vine.
So you're gonna bury that one, or you're just gonna retrain this one
Well,
up?
I think my strategy is going to be, and I learned this from the Walla Walla guys,
Okay.
is they do a spur, a renewal spur, low. So this we're probably going to keep this to train that one, but we're going to pick probably that one, and we'll spur that, and then I use a finger weeder, and I'll mound over the spur. So this is part of what I was talking to Keith from
From Klaus and Chase.
from Klaus and Chase.
That's
'Cause
pretty cool
they
because
lay
that
down-
collaboration, Prince Edward County, Klaus and Chase, where they grow Pinot Noir Chardonnay, and Keith was here a couple days ago talking with Shay. So we have Okanagan Falls, Prince Edward County connection.
Amazing. It's
Isn't
awesome.
it?
Yeah, such
Isn't
a wonderful conversation. But yeah, so they bury all their canes, and so I was telling him about what the Walla Walla guys were telling me on how they manage it, which he hadn't heard before, and so he thought that was a really interesting idea and maybe a more cost-effective way for an insurance policy,
Okay.
because it's obviously very labor-intensive and expensive to lay down all the canes. But most of the vines will renew, so we'll keep that, and by the end of the season that'll be up here. We'll lay that down next season, and then we'll be taking those trunks off. So I think that's what,
So the trunk will be taken off like early next year? That's the strategy?
or maybe the year after that.
Okay. Oh, you'll keep it for another 12
Yeah,
months?
for protection, so that I don't have to restake with bamboo and stuff. Yeah, so I think that's what we're likely going to end up doing with most of the plants.
So if, let's say, like best case scenario, no crop this year,
yeah, no crop at
no
all
crop
this year.
this year, and next year we're looking at the 50% crop.
If lucky, I think.
Best case
Best
scenario.
case, for our site and the damage that we've suffered, I think that would be best case scenario.
Okay.
Um,
And all for this, all the clones, the 115, the 91, the ancestor,
yeah,
they
they
all
are in kind of similar shape, I would say.
shape. Yeah.
I was mentioning before, I think the Chardonnay is in better shape, so we might have 50% of a crop of Chardonnay, and then Syrah, the older blocks of Syrah, are really in tough shape, and I'm fearful that I think we're likely going to be pulling them all out and replacing them.
Well, it's I mean, this is a good opportunity here. We're gonna have what we're having this week, the clonal selection. I mean, the 5-pack, one bottle of the Cuvée 2022,
That's right.
which is a blend of the 4 clones
That's
together,
Yeah.
and also one bottle of each and every single clone in the offer. So we also have the Syrah Rosé available.
That's
So it's gonna be a good opportunity to get Code's wine through Carl's Wine Club for the
Awesome.
next week. So
Totally, yeah.
hey, thanks for having us.
Oh, thank
Thanks,
you.
and best of luck.
Oh, thank you.
Very good. And you win all of this the side.
Yeah, I mean, if you go over to the edge here, you get a better sense of where it. But it's swooped around from that corner of this block because I put the sprinklers on here. Which, in hindsight, I should have been. I was fighting the fire in this block. I should have probably just put the drips on and let that do whatever it was going to do. Just because, like, this is alive and that one's not. You know what I mean? But
Okay.
of course, when a fire's beating down on you, you're not thinking exactly clearly, right? So, anyway.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
this is pretty crazy.
And then it split because the sprinklers were on that block, and it went to the right, which then swooped through this, around this ridge. So it came all the way around and then up into my neighbor's property and then into the Syrah block here. But broke my heart because this is the Joseph Phelps SLS planting, and you can see it just was doing so frickin' well. All the rest of our Syrah plants are in really tough shape, but this was just like in beautiful shape. And so for the fire to end up going into this block was the real double kick in the pants, if you know what I mean.
And you can see down below here, okay, so this part of the block was saved. Can you see over there? That's where. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can.
Now,
Do you want to walk down there?
that makes sense now. I had a hard time visualizing.
Yeah. And then with all the holes cut in my fence, I had 8 or 10 deer in here for a week, so you can see.
They had a snack.
They had a snack.
Oh. Yeah, because look at the height. Like, I mean,
Oh, yeah, it's just in fantastic shape. So, I mean, the really awesome news is this clone, I picked it, well, because my good buddy Christophe Barone makes unbelievable wine with Cayuse. But he picked it for Walla Walla because it's more cold hardy than the other Syrah clones and clearly living up to its reputation here.
Huh.
And this is in better shape than the upper Syrah block, but I just don't know if we're going to have enough growth, you know, this
to
season.
lay down anything else and to retrain it.
Well, and just for it to survive, you know, it's got to photosynthesize enough carbohydrates and store it in the roots to survive the winter. And, you know, like with 1 or 2 leaves sticking out at this juncture, we're almost in July. There's just not probably enough season to
regenerate.
to get us where we need to be.
Yeah.
Started to come in here, so it was coming from that direction, and it kind of came in like an arrowhead. So if you had a picture overhead, this is the tip of the arrow, so you can see this is kind of, I managed to stop the fire here, but it came from the north, and unfortunately all the longer rows in this block are on that north end, so about half of the vines have been taken out.
Oh, that's so sad, hey? Jeez.
Huh.
This was pretty intense. That's last Saturday.
So that's where everything started down there?
Yeah, just over this ridge.
Over the ridge.
Yeah.
And thing came up the ridge?
Yeah, it was blowing right at us here, and it was crazy. The the intensity of it was unbelievable.
So all that's black there, that's where there was full on fire everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Well, you can see like they cut down the trees down there.
Well, you can see on this tree here, like the flames were right at the top of these trees.
Jeez. Yeah, right up there.
Oh, Shay, on that note, we have some great wine to taste.
Yes.
Great wine for sale.
Yes.
I mean, that's the positive part.
It is. Yeah.
And
we're very thankful for our partnership, but you know, customers have been really supportive. So many people have reached out to us, and yeah, we're just really grateful for the support that you guys are giving us and the whole community. So thank you.
well, I mean, Carl's Wine Club members, it's time to support our friend Shay. And
Thank you.
thanks for having us.
Yes, my
Thank you.
pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. So, yeah, so thanks for tuning in today. I mean, it's quite a emotional kind of a show, but in the meantime, I just love celebrating the quality of these wines, and it's very unique because, like we mentioned with Shay during the interview, it's the uniqueness of the product, all of these single clones. So the wines are available. The Syrah, the Rosé Syrah, 91 points, Carl's Wine Club. a delicious Syrah. So all available right now into that pack. So yeah, thanks again. That was a nice recap of the Pan Canadian and also our offer right now with cold wines in Okanagan Fall. Canadian wine lovers, Cars Wine Club members, see you next week.